These are different terms for the same thing they try to describe. And what to put it into a simple term is you see yourself different than everybody out there sees you. You think you are projecting your own perception, your preference of how you want to be perceived. But that's not what's really being seen by others. So when you say, I do want to teach my children, and I want them to know everything, is a very different thing, because not a lot of people want their children to know everything, or they all want to teach their children right, for the most part, you want to say. The ones, not everybody wants to teach their children, gives that responsibility, significance it deserves. But those that do, they may not be willing to divulge their weakest, darkest moments.
And that's key.
That's not true. That's not true. I want them to know me. That's just.
So you as an individual don't necessarily want your child to know your darkest moments.
I will tell them
your darkest moments
and everything. I have nothing to hide.
And why do you feel that's important? As a parent.
I'm going to tell you why.
As a parent.
Because that's trust.
Okay.
In the sense, it's not trust. What it
you
is
can interject in this,
What it is to be. Okay. In the sense that it is trust in the sense that if you want to know, I will not lie. I will not, because lies' purpose is to deceive.
Exactly.
That's what it is. It is to deceive.
So right there.
No matter how you tell the lie, you are purposefully deceiving.
Let me pause you right there, because that's right on the nose. So, what would you say is the greatest gift God has given us?
Yeshua HaMashiach, his son. Jesus Christ. That's his name in Hebrew. Yeshua.
That's the greatest gift? Why? What does he represent that is the greatest gift?
I'll tell you why. Because
I need a word or a phrase or something.
Since sin, or they're called the fall of man from Adam and Eve. At that time, God told him, you will surely die. Indicating no death before that. Now, death has entered the world. Also, we were given the world. We were given the earth. Dominion over the earth. At the time of the fall of man, that dominion was given over to...
We're going to get Chinese food. Can I have some money?
What have we called? Of priests to the world. That's it. That's all he says. Go down and ask him. No fine print. He said, you obey me. No fine print. We can't get a sample. What you going to ask us to obey? Yes or no? They say yes. Moses goes back up. God says, okay, go back down. Tell them, consecrate yourselves for 3 days. No sex. On the third day, they're going to see something so spectacular, they'll never disbelieve you again, Moses. Third day, morning, trumpets blasting. Not people. Trumpets are blasting. Fire comes down on top of Mount Sinai. It's quaking, it's shaking, the people are, it's listed, it says it, the people are dreadful, they are afraid. Moses brings them to the base of the mountain. God had told Moses to set up stones so that nothing touches the mountain, no animals, no people, they will die. God shouts down, and it says, just like it says in Genesis, he brought creation through his words. He shouts
through energy.
Down the 10 Commandments.
Through his energy.
Through his words, it says.
Right.
His words.
Right.
No, the word, it is word.
His word is that power. It is that energy, right?
Put energy in there, but what's listed in the Hebrew scriptures is word. Dubar is the word. All right. He shouts down his 10 Commandments to the people. At the end of the 10 Commandments, he's not done in the sense like that's it. There. The people tell Moses, no more. Moses, you go up there and you talk to God. Whatever he tells you, we will obey. But if he talks to us anymore, we are going to die. There's no way in the movie that this can be impressed on the people watching it. What the scriptures actually say is, if you read it and run the play script in your head, these people have seen the most awesome thing. And here they are telling Moses, we can't take it anymore. You do it.
So I asked you what you thought the greatest gift that God gave us was, and you
So-
said Jesus. To say, if I'm hearing you right, to say that
Salvation.
through His sacrifice
Yes.
we were saved.
We are offered salvation.
We are offered salvation, but we have to choose salvation, right? Is what you're saying.
Yes.
It is our choice.
Yes.
Okay, so that's great. That's dead on. I think we agree with each other. I'm going to use different verbiage to say it from my side, right?
Yes.
So for me, the greatest gift that God gave us was free will. And the reason that free will was the greatest gift is because love is a choice. Salvation is a choice, as you stated. Positive energy is a choice. Negative energy is a choice. Right? So we can argue ignorance all day long. But if we choose to remain ignorant by choice, we just like who we are and we don't want to open ourselves up to anything else out there, to anything outside, if we don't want to see ourselves and open ourselves up, we don't want to stand before ourselves and face ourselves, you are choosing that. You are choosing to remain ignorant before yourself. You're choosing to bury your fears and bury your shame and bury your insecurities and hide them away. That's
Who
a
does that?
choice.
Who does that?
Every single one of these blue lights through corruption.
Well,
Because you choose corruption.
do children hide their fears?
Do they?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
They do. More likely, adults do too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But aren't we?
God.
What's the difference between a child and an adult?
Experience.
Maturity. Should be.
Experience. Not age.
Maturity
Experience.
is not a given.
No.
Maturity is not a given. Your body physically matures, but your mind does not
And
unless you mature.
And you know why it's not a given? It's not a given because it comes down to choice. You have to choose how you want to respond to the experiences that you go through. You have to choose every action and reaction cause and effect. We can go back to science on it.
You have to choose to grow.
You have to choose to grow.
Mature through your experiences.
But in order to do it the right way, in order to truly evolve, you have to first understand yourself. You have to see yourself. You have to understand that negative, and not just understand it and not just see it, but you have to accept it. You have to embrace it. And then once you've done that, you can choose to change it. And you can choose to elevate yourself. And you can choose to reach out to those other one of us positive energies that are trying to reach out to you. And we can help elevate each other. But until then, you can think that you're climbing high. You can think that you're walking the right path. You can think that you're a good Christian. You can think that your religion is the right religion.
How do you elevate? How do you elevate? When you say positive energy, I give. How is that? What is the description of giving positive energy?
So when I go through my whole story, I'll line all of this up. But, for example, I'll just use me so that I play the victim or a criminal or whatever, bad guy. I don't care. I have anger issues. I'll call that one out, right? So I have anger issues. So if anger is one of my filters that I see through, and fear is one of your filters, and you send fear my way, the chances of me using that to grow my anger are very strong and very high, whether I'm aware of it or not, right? In order to affect real change from that negative energy that just transferred and churn it into positive energy, I have to understand what just took place. I have to understand that my response to that fear was anger. I have to ask myself why I took in that fear in the first place, why I chose to accept it, why I chose to allow it to affect me, and then why I chose anger as my outlet to release that negative energy back out. And if I don't understand any of that, then all I am at the end of the day is angry. Right? And it doesn't matter what uniform I wear. It doesn't matter what color my skin is. It doesn't matter what nationality, background, or religion I believe in. It doesn't matter how many times a day I pray to God. If I cannot see me, if I cannot understand me, if I cannot see that transaction taking place,
how do you get to see you?
You have to choose. So let's say, I'll tell you how I started, right? A little bit into my story. When I was young, I'm skipping a whole bunch of stuff, but when I was young, I had these anger issues much more intensified. And the day that I became aware that I had some issues that I needed to work on, because I had a lot of pride too. Pride was one of my sins. And so pride will make you blind. Pride will absolutely, if you're a proud person, odds are you don't know you are. Somebody needs to tell you. And this is how I learned. Somebody told me, right? Now, somebody happened to be my father. I got into an argument with him because me and my father had a horrible relationship, right? And we used to always fight, like always. And he called me out. I was probably maybe 10, 11. Like I was really young. And he said something to the effect of me not being able to take constructive criticism. And he defined constructive criticism for me. And my immediate response was anger. And I didn't know it at the time. I wasn't paying attention to what was happening. I was just angry. I just gave in to the feeling. I chose to allow it to happen and to come out that way. I chose to manifest that within myself. And when I responded in anger, he said, in his cocky little smug little way, which has made it so much worse, like a knife wound, he just said, my point. Like I proved his point. Yes. I proved his point. And he walked away. And that was it. Okay. And that made me so much more angry. That made me so much more angry. Okay. I was furious. And I hadn't even fully processed everything that went through my head at this moment. But I know that when I started to calm down from being so furious, I asked myself, I was like, damn, he got me. Why did he get me? And it wasn't really that I was mad about how he said it.
Got you like that.
Yeah, so I wasn't really mad about how he said it, because he was always kind of that guy. He was always pissing me off, you know what I mean? He was always that way. So I wasn't really mad about how he said it. I wasn't even mad that, really what I was just mad that he was right. I was mad that he was right. And then when I said that to myself, because I caught myself when he said prove my point, I was like, shit, he's right. I did do that. That was the day that I paid attention and I decided, but see, I chose to listen to him on that day. Because let me tell you, I've been told I was stubborn all my life and I didn't accept it until like somewhere in my teenage years. And then I was like, oh yeah, I am really stubborn. I was just too stubborn to hear it. Yeah. So sometimes when people tell us stuff, it's with negative intent, and you can't always take that for what it is because you allow it to devalue yourself. But sometimes you have to take constructive criticism for what it is. It is positive energy that we perceive to be negative energy because of what's already inside of us. Right? So that was the day that I finally stopped and said, okay, he just one-upped me. My father and I used to play chess against each other, right? So it was always a battle. Like I always had to beat him. I had to figure out a way because he was so smug. So it was just like I had to win. And I'm not competitive. I don't care about winning and losing. I like playing games, like just for the fun of it. But that guy, I had to beat him, right? Just because that attitude. So when he defeated me in this, that I was angry enough to use that anger, to use the very thing that I was self-perpetuating that was putting me in a negative motion. I used it for something positive. I used it to push myself to be better. I used it to start internalizing. What I told myself was this. I said, okay, going back to the anger. I said, okay, the next time that I have an explosion, the next time that I unleash, the first step is to be able to identify that I'm in that moment, right? Because for anybody who's had anger issues, when you're in the moment, half of us black out. You don't even remember it. The other half, you don't recall what took place. You can't even think back on it until after the fact, right? So that anger needs to really be released and leave you before you can think clearly and play the events back and say what actually happened here. This is why we get a lot of crimes, we get a lot of assaults, because you don't really stop to think about it until after the fact, right? You're caught up in that negative energy. You're caught up in an outburst of negative energy. You're just exploding. You can't pick up the pieces until afterward. So for me, I said, okay, well, the first problem that I have, I looked at it backwards. I said, okay, what's the core problem? Let me start from there and work myself backwards. So the core problem is that I'm getting angry and I can't control it. I can't even identify it. So if I can't identify it, there's nothing else that I can do until then. First step has to be able to identify it, right? I can identify it after the fact. We all can. The problem I'm having is identifying it while it happens or before it happens. So every day, I told myself, every day that I wake up in the morning, I will tell myself, I'm not going to get angry today. I'm not going to get angry today. I'm not going to get angry today. I'm not going to get angry. It sounds corny. This is before YouTube. I grew up in a time before YouTube, before internet, right? I grew up in that age too. This is before those self-help. I wasn't doing anything. I'm just a kid. But I told myself this because I couldn't let my father beat me. So I told myself this. I'm gonna identify this. So every morning I wake up, I say I'm not going to get angry. Every night before I go to sleep, I'm not going to get angry. Or if I messed up that day, I'm not going to get angry again. And I would keep doing this and keep doing this and keep doing this and keep doing this. I've been doing this for years now, right? This is not a quick process because anger was my demon. Anger was my sin. That was my number one. That had a hold of me. I didn't have a hold of it, right? So I end up in these situations. I was in the projects at the time. Situations happen there, right? So I end up in these situations and I get angry. And when I get angry, I don't really like what I hear back after because my anger is to that point where sometimes it's a blur. I don't remember what happened or anything like that. Like I get that kind of anger. It gets real bad. So I don't like it. I don't like that about me because after you see the fear in other people's faces, you see the way they look at you. And the same way I don't like being looked at like I'm a cockroach because of the color of my skin or what I wear or what I look like. I don't like being looked at with fear, especially if it's by someone you love and you want to lift up. You don't want them to draw back from you. Like, what did I do so wrong that you would look at me this way, that you would connect with me the same way, all right? So I wanted to change. I had to want to change. I had to choose. I had to use that free will to make that change. And I had to not just want to do it, but you used the word earlier where I had to commit to doing it, right? I had to commit to doing it. I couldn't just do it one day. I had to do it every single day until I got into one fight or something bad happened, right? I lost control. Whatever happened. I came out of it. All right. I'm not going to let it happen again. And I go back and I go, what did take place? What happened? I play over the whole thing. Why did I get angry? What triggered that? Oh, well, he did this, so I responded and did that. And for a while, it was he did this, so I responded and did that. So that's what it was for a while. But I was still learning. So I see it. I'm like, okay, another incident happens. I still missed it. Damn, I missed it again. All right, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to let it happen again, right? This continues to happen. Maybe 6-7 times. By about the 7th time, I was able to identify what was happening, like right in the middle of it happening. And I was able to kind of pull back from the fight or the incident, whatever, right? I was able to kind of, okay, this is when I realized I'm onto something because nobody taught me how to do this. I was guided to me through other energy, which we'll talk about later, right? But this was my confirmation that there's something here. I didn't catch it, but I identified it sooner. I'm seeing it now.
You've seen progress.
That was just the first step.
Yes.
So this will continue to happen, right?
Yeah.
And this goes on for years.
Yes.
Years. But this will continue to happen, and little by little, I would get to the point where I'd be in the middle of it, and I can identify it every time. Now I just got to get to the point where I can identify it at the beginning. Then I got to get to the point where I can identify it before it even starts, right? And each time I'm playing each incident through, and I'm what happened, what went wrong, why did I unleash that way, what's the real reason? And I looked and I looked and I looked because I wanted to change. I didn't just, I want to be better. I really, truly did not like that. I didn't like that side of myself. It scared even me. I was afraid of myself. It was pretty bad. It gets dark, that energy. And so I committed myself, to use your words. I committed myself to continue to do it every single day. To this day, I still do it every single day, to the point where not only was I able to identify before it happened, but I understood the why. I understood why it was happening. I understood that one of my filters is anger. And I understood the next step was to understand where that anger was coming from. And I understood that I wasn't just angry, I was in pain. And then I had to understand the pain and where that was coming from and how I was processing this and how I was using it negatively. And little by little, you become better. You're able to, it's not that you purify yourself of these demons, but you learn to live in harmony with them. You learn to maintain a balance with them. You learn to have, you say obedience, I'll say you learn to have control over that negative energy within yourself, right? So I won't use the term obedience because to me, these very things that we're talking about, these sins, these choices that we make for negative energy, they are chains that are holding us down. We are still slaves. We are slaves to our sins. We are slaves to our corruption. And by that simple thing, we allow ourselves to be slaves to others. We allow ourselves to give control over what should be God's only, that one, we give it control to other men, to other people. And we say, you do it, so I can just do this thing over here. You focus on it, so I can do this thing over here. So you have two wars going on at the same time, internal and external. But the problem is everybody's focused on the external. If you can't fix the internal first, you're never going to get anywhere, right? It's just like fighting a fire. You can spray water on it or chemicals on it all day, but if you're not pointing at the source, that fire's just going to keep burning, right?
Yes.
That's us. That's what we are. That's how we function. That's how we work. And it's all based off of choice and free will. But God as a parent, in this scenario, God as a parent, the greatest gift he gave us, for the sake of my illustration, was free will, right? Because he knows better than us, because he understands that we are still children, even as adults in this world. We are still children. We have not grown anywhere near to the level that he has, right? He's got that on us by far. Because he's our parent, he doesn't want to control us. He doesn't want us to do what he wants in terms of, if he wanted it that way, he would make it happen. We wouldn't have free will. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We would be his slaves. Mm-hmm. We would be his slaves. Mm-hmm. So I try to stay away from the term obedience just because of that. We would be his slaves. God doesn't want us to be his slaves. He wants us to be his children, right? There's no way you're putting chains over your kids. The reason that you are willing to expose yourself down to your darkest secret for the sake of your children is so that they can know the truth. That's what you said, right? Mm-hmm. God is willing to sacrifice himself so that they can trust. Sorry. And so that God wants us to trust him. He wants us to see him as his parent. He wants us to know him. But we have to choose to do that, because if we don't choose to do that, then everything is pointless, right? Yeah. If it's just for him to control us and him to just use us as slaves, then we wouldn't be what we are. Yes. So it all comes down to choice. You have to choose love. You have to choose God. You have to choose positive. You have to choose to see yourself. You have to choose knowledge over ignorance. You have to choose to labor versus being lazy and allowing that to control you. You have to choose to put in your part to this community that is all your brothers and sisters of the same light, rather than just take and take and take.
Yes.
But it's a two-way street, because there will be those that are more drained than others. There are going to be those that burn more lightly than others. So if my brother is down, I don't care who he is, my blue light, I'm going to extend my energy to him, even if he doesn't have enough to give back to me. Because that is, again, coming back to love. I'm willing to give you my last breath. I'm willing to give you that last piece of energy if I know that it will raise you up, even if you cannot return that to me. Does that make sense? In this world,
Yes.
in this narrative.
Yes.
So God was with me every step of the way. God was with me when I was completely ignorant and completely blind. God was with me when I was able to identify, to accept and understand the fact that I can be wrong, that I there are things I don't know, and that the things that I do think I know or that I believe could also be wrong. When I was able to understand the fact that I may not even fully comprehend the energy behind the words that I'm using, that I'm putting out towards my significant other, thank you. Once I was able to fully understand that and accept that, God was still with me through all of that. God was with me when I died. God was with me when I came back. God was with me over the last 3 years through everything I've been through, and we'll go to that in my story. He's always been with me. But still, even as I journeyed through myself, even as I journeyed through that understanding of myself and trying to understand my negative energy and trying to understand my positive energy and trying to just make sense of it all, even as I journeyed through that, even as I stumbled, even as I fell, and even as I rose, he was with me every step of the way. And still, it took me this long to arrive at the point that I did. Still, it took me this long to see my father, to say, oh, I get it. I understand now. I thank you and love. Like, I mean, it's to me, it's the difference of doing a Skype call with your parent, whichever one's your favorite. Everybody's got their favorite, right? So it's like the difference of doing a Skype call with your parent versus seeing them in person. You can do a Skype call with your parent every day and see them on video for years. But that one time that you see them in person, after so long for not seeing them, it's going to be an amazing moment, right? Mm-hmm. Tears usually, right? Like, it's, wow, I have you every day on Skype, but it's just not the same as seeing them up close, as holding them, as feeling them, as knowing them, as having that embrace. It is not the same. For every year, every minute, every month that I thought that I would, you can't tell me about God, you can't tell me about, I know God, I did. I was absolutely right. I did. I knew him and I spoke to him and I had a relationship with him and it was always strong. But it was nowhere near where I am now. And what I finally understand is that there is no end to the evolution of us. There is no end to our capabilities. There is no end to how much we can grow, right? And you can go biblical on that. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the end and the beginning. He is the end. Until him, there is no end. We can grow. We can evolve into things that we never have before if we all chose that same path and we all chose to lift each other and we all chose to raise each other and we all chose to love each other and just imagine, look at how much power negative energy has. Look at how much destruction we've done in the short time we've walked this earth. Look at how much destruction. Imagine if we took all of that magnified over the centuries of us and turned that into positive energy, what we could achieve. Peace, world peace is entirely possible. It is plausible, it is possible, it is provable. Because if one person can have true inner peace and be at peace with themselves and understand themselves and see themselves and accept themselves and want to continually evolve, then we all can. And if we all did it at the same time, theoretically speaking, that would be world peace. But peace is boring because positive energy is boring. We're attracted to the negative energy. The negative energy is fun. Same thing in the origin stories. She had a choice. Eve had a choice. Adam had a choice. They made choices, and the choice that they went for was the negative energy.
Why did they go for that choice?
Why do we go for that choice is the question.
Why do we sin?
Why do we?
Why do we sin?
But see, here's the real question. I'm not bringing it up for discussion for us here. I mean, we can talk about it if you want, but it's a question for you to ask yourself. Why do I sin? Why do I choose, for me, anger? Why do I choose anger? Another one, for a long time when I was young, ignorance. Why did I choose ignorance? What else I got? Laziness. Why did I choose laziness? Why did I let it take a hold of me? I chose that. I chose those things. I mean, I could go on, and I probably will through some of my story, but they were my choices, and I have to ask myself, why? Why did I make that choice? Eve is long done and gone. If instead of focusing on the, it's good to understand the past, but that's not where I want the focus to be. The focus needs to be on us in the present, right here, right now. Who am I today? And no matter how good I think I am, no matter how strong I think I walk with my Lord, no matter how righteous I believe I am, there is room to evolve because there is no end to our evolution until Him.
It says, on our best day, our righteousness is like filthy rags for all of us. So to think about being righteous, it states right away, on your best day, that you think you're the most righteous, your righteousness is like a filthy rag. That's what it says.
So if we know that, right, in whatever form, whether it's form I say, you say, book says, whatever, if we believe that in any form of our religion, any form of our spirituality, any form of our self, atheist included, it just karma, good energy, whatever they believe in. I've heard different stuff. I've rarely met an atheist that actually doesn't believe in anything. You know what I mean? They believe something.
They believe in self.
Right. They believe in self, or they believe in some kind of energy or something. There's always something. So even them, whatever it is, that's your choice of religion or spiritual path, you, in this moment, if you would have caught me, let's say we're having this conversation 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago, same table, same people, right? I would have told you, I'm there. I'm good. I'm walking, right? Five years ago,
You're where?
I'm good with my God. I'm good in my spirituality. I'm good in my religion. I'm a good Christian. You know what I mean? I'm there. I'm good. I understand myself. I know that I sin sometimes, but it's only a small lie, or it was for a good cause, or